Hello. Yushu. Thank you. Today, let's continue to talk about the second episode of The Soul Hunter. At the end of the last episode, we would Duan secretly carry out an investigation into the serial killers. But even if they could figure out some scientific evidence and specific analysis, so they found Wendy. Wendy was very interested in their research. Instead of letting these evil monsters rot in prison, but she didn't understand why the FBI didn't help such an important and meaningful thing. Why didn't the FBI help them? View them in secret. I truly imagine what it takes to bludgeon someone to death. The lust for control. The feeling of arousal. To humiliate her corpse. How could you possibly get that from an ordinary police report? However, the second victim was beaten to death. The dog was not only beheaded, it was pulled out. Judging from the second crime scene, the criminal became more and more. His methods also became more and more cruel. Duan thought that the age of the criminal. These 7 victims were basically his mother. Although the criminal's body was mature, certain social barriers. It is estimated that he had a failed marriage and was still living with his mother. When he was young, the police soon found a person who matched these characteristics. His name was De Huite. His home was dirty, messy and crowded. His mother seemed to hate him to the point of tearing him apart, smashing him, and killing him like a dog. Move the fuck on. But no. You sleep on the couch here. We're not too drunk to get up there. Maybe we could talk outside. Dwight. Have a smoke. Take him. Just give me a fucking moment to breathe. Bill asked where his dog had gone. Did he get married or something? Maybe he was surrounded by 3 men in suits and had a sense of oppression. De Huite just smoked and didn't dare to speak. At this time, Horton took the initiative to squat down and broke the iron-like siege order. He also began to take the initiative to lower his posture. He had a black face and a white face with Bill. Horton slapped Bill and Bill finally let De Huite open his mouth. A few years ago, he had a girlfriend. The other party even had his child. But De Huite's mother thought they were too young. So, together with the girl's parents, she forced him to have a miscarriage and broke up with De Huite. He talked about the dog at home in silence. That's my mom's dog. It has nothing to do with me. De Huite. His mother. And his mother's boyfriend found a place to live. His mother can live with her boyfriend. But De Huite can only obey his mother. He broke up with his girlfriend and slept on the stand my ground. I'm no pussy. I'm not saying you're a pussy per se. I'm saying you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You ever cuss her out? I give as good as I get. What does that mean? Under Horton's continuous interrogation, keep his secret. In his 4th interview with Ed, he talked about his motivation to kill female students. People's stereotype. Everyone thinks he can't communicate with girls. He's a fool. Failure is a proof of his mother's insult to him. No girl wants to be with him. At first, he just tried to talk to these girls. Gradually, he began to suppress his evil thoughts. He wanted to have a relationship. The experience he could borrow was the criminal records of those people in the mental hospital. He called the feelings he wanted. He would get in the car and he would drive off. And immediately he would say, "Oh. And he's huge. He's a big man. He could reach all the way across the car. Open it. Close it. Find that mechanism." So if they became afraid or they wanted to get out, it wouldn't allow the mechanism to work. At some point, you begin to enjoy the thrill. Look, when you slit a person's throat, You need to cut it from ear to ear in order to sever the windpipe and the jugular so that they bleed and suffocate at the same time. Otherwise. That's how I learned the term ear to ear. Literally what that meant. People think it's just an expression. Died in his hands. And he was alive. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
What?
Yeah. 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 I was her toy all my life. Right up until the moment. Yeah. 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 He drove his car leisurely for several hours. The strange thing is that when his mother was about to give birth to the sixth victim, the girl said that her father had cancer and died soon. Cancer. And he was deeply moved and sympathized with the girl. The girl and the god of death just passed by. Hearing this, Horton and Bill are all stupid. Still a side of mercy in killing demons. I think what age attention means is, I think I've had enough science for one day. Throat's a little dry. We became intimate. Bill talks about his family. A few years ago, he and his wife adopted a child. He thought this was the beginning of happiness. They, who have lost, finally be like other couples. A family of 3. Happy. Down on Bill. He didn't want to talk. He had never called Bill Dad for so many years. Bill is going on a business trip. The wife pushes the child to the door, hoping that he can say goodbye to his father. But the child doesn't want to say a word. It doesn't work even if Bill reaches out and hugs him. In the end, Bill had no choice but to kiss the child's forehead and leave. Back to FBI. Wendy and the two listen to Lyser's recording again. They want to find the key point that makes him change. Is it the breakup letter from his girlfriend? Or is there a scene where you are intimate with someone else? Wendy doesn't think so. Feel that he had lost his control. And then he killed himself. Bill thinks it's strange. And be dumped. Why did only Lyser become a pervert killer because of this? What's more, the other party's enjoyment of the bed. This is simply unreasonable. In the second interview, they talked about divorced when he was very young. His mother took his brother and sister to change their families. So Lyser began to misbehave in his childhood. He drank and did evil things. He used a toy gun to hurt his cousin. It was because of this that his stepfather broke his eardrums. Since then, his behavior has been further upgraded. Robbery, theft, and even rape. Mother and locked up. The second interview ended in Lyser's imagination. The police in the Beth Lee disappeared for 4 days. The body was found on the to the degree of decay of the body and the number of mosquitoes. She didn't stay on the trash mountain for a long time. Was just dumped here. Beth Lee's eyes were injured and her chin was broken. She had a lot of cuts all over her body. Her chest was cut off. Wound across her entire lower body. A little. There has never been. Because of this that he was sure that this must be a good thing done by foreigners. In fact, in the photo, his hair thought of 10,000 questions in his mind. Why did the murderer put the dead man's hair like this? Or is it a show? The police in the town didn't pay attention to this evidence. Fingerprints. Horton couldn't believe that the police here would make such a stupid mistake. I think what Agent Ford is trying to say, in his own way, is we've come late to the party. We're probably gonna have to go over ground.
You've already covered.
We don't mean that as a challenge to you. It's not any kind of a criticism. We're just trying to catch up. Horton speculated that someone had taken a fancy to his hair. For the murderer. Except for the hair. There was no and the garbage. So his hair was tangled on the dressing table with his scalp. They asked Beverly's fiancé. The police interrogated him roughly. The fiancé, who was immersed in sorrow, couldn't give any effective information. Another mistake. The police also noticed Horton's dissatisfaction. They could all back. He's from here. I know him. The worker. He also said that he had a habit of taking dogs far away. And there was a forest behind the straight town in the garbage dump. That night, he went to pick it up on the way in. And that's how he was surprised. The patrol dog you raised was a master hunter. He didn't smell the body. But you found it in the dark night. Explained that he was an old dog. So maybe his nose wasn't working. But the old dog had. The worker claimed that he reported the police immediately after he found the body. At this time, the residents were absolutely innocent. Finally opened their mouths. Why did you lie? The blue-collar worker's wife confessed to the police that Beverly had tried to apply to be his housekeeper. The worker showed great interest in Beverly. He thought of her beauty, her figure. He also tried to be kind to her. Unfortunately. But the wife also said that the night of the crime, the worker went home. He didn't want to report the case. He was afraid that he would be treated as a suspect. After a night of persuasion, he finally agreed to call the police. Since the found the body, the biggest suspect now was Beverly's fiancé. When you're married, it's a contract. There's children, a mortgage, a house to keep up. Almost like a business. Only you can't quit. She can't fire you. Stock goes up. Stock goes down. It doesn't matter. You're trapped. Unless you want to bring on the lawyers and open Pandora's box. Resentment builds on both sides. 1,000 tiny cuts. Back to the FBI. Horton and Wendy studied the similarities between Lizelle and Ed. Horton said that they all knew the bad influence childhood had on them. Lizelle said that they were just pretending to be victims and seeking sympathy. It must be hell.